Zig Comics, the writer and creator of Magic Cop, which is in demand on Indiegogo right now, and just one half of the two best-looking brothers in all of comics. And today we're back with a Comics Great episode, talking to some CG creators on an upcoming book. And here they are, Ibai Canales and Alex Garcia, right?
Yep, Garcia, that's right.
Johnny's Law. So, I've seen this book, a lot of art from it in, the chat rooms, and you've been posting a lot lately, getting ramped up to bring this to everybody, launching your campaign soon. And really, you have a mailing list for everybody. We're going to look at that. That looks awesome. You whipped that together today, and just really excited to dive into this. Thanks for coming on, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, definitely. So let's, I always like to start this off kind of getting to know you guys and how you've gotten into comics, coming from an artist standpoint and writer standpoint, and when you kind of really got into reading comics when you guys were growing up. So Alex, Laura, we'll talk to you first. How did you kind of get into comics, and how did that lead you into where you are now?
Whew. Okay, well, I'm 44, and it's a long story, but I'm going to keep it really, really, really short. When I was living with my father for a few years, I used to collect baseball cards, and then one day someone wanted a baseball card that I had that I didn't really want, but I made a trade for it. And so he gave me a comic book, and I can't remember exactly which one that. No, actually, I do remember. That was Americomics #2. This was published in '83, I believe. And Jerry Ordway had a story for his character called The Messenger in that book. And so from that point, I moved forward trying to, cut lawns and do what I could to earn money to get comics. And my dad never wanted to take me to the store. But finally he did. And I picked up Grimjack, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And actually, because it was so cheap at the time, I guess it had lost value, I picked up I think it's 26 issues of Nova, the first volume with Sal Buscema who was drawing it. And that was pretty much where it started. Then later on, I didn't get comics. He would take them and, toss them out and stuff like that. So eventually when I moved back with my mother, she one day for my birthday, no, actually it wasn't my birthday, it was just summer. Anyway, she went and bought me my first pull box. And what she put in it was Amazing Spider-Man and New Warriors. Because New Warriors had just come out. So that was it from there. But the point of me wanting to do comics, draw them specifically, was that Americomics issue. And it was the what's that guy, that character, Terror, the Black Terror, but they called it, at the time they had to call him Terror by Night, right? So there was a what is this? Gosh, Bill Black, I think was the artist, but it was a last inside of the cover insert in the back, and it was a black and white drawing of the Black Terror, and the way that it was done, I just marveled over it for hours. And then eventually when I started to draw, that was what I always loved, was black and white art, and that's what I love about, that's one of the reasons why I like Ibai's art so much, is because it gives me that same type of a feeling, and especially I love the zip tones and all of that. I love it so much that I really wanted the book to do that. But then I thought, it's done in a lot of his work, so I wanted to give everyone something different by putting it in color. But that's pretty much how I got to this point, leaving comics because it never really worked out for so long, then coming back after 23 years, not being confident enough in my skills after such a long hiatus. And so I started talking to Ibai online, and we just, we connected and made it happen.
Yeah, that's great. Like you're saying, coming back after a while, but you're still making it happen. Even though you you have this passion that you want to get this done, even though you might not be confident in what you could do, but working with other people that want to support and help out. That's the great thing about CG right now is everybody's trying to support each other.
Right.
I love that.
Yeah, that it gives us the opportunities that we never had in the 90s. Like, well, at least for me, at being the age that I am, you had to either get a publisher or you had to self-publish. But even then, that was hard. I remember trying to make a comic, like an 8-page little ash can on a copier. You know what I mean? Back in the day. So, but now it's just so much easier, and social media adds to it. For the promotion and all that. And that's what it just gives you the benefit of doing all this, because this story itself is like an idea, just an idea from a movie script that I had in 97.
Wow,
that I never wrote down, but I knew the story. And then once I got with Ibai, I just kind of rethought it and rearranged it a little bit and made it a little different from the way I had it originally.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Ibai, the man, very popular artist, Mr. Ibai.
Yes,
I know you have you've had successful campaigns already, and you have a campaign going on right now called SOS that's out. So everybody check that out. Also, I would love to talk to you about how you kind of got into doing this and comics and all that same stuff. If you're still there, Ibai. Did the man freeze?
Yeah, I think he did.
No. Well, we can get back to him. We can actually show off the book. That's a great thing for having you on here too, brother.
Yeah.
So we'll pull up your book right over here, and I thought it was a great idea for you to make this page, this launch page.
Mm-hmm.
This is what I did when I was doing Magic Cop, before we even got into doing the Indiegogo launch page. Made a MailChimp page. So if you guys are creators out there as well, definitely look into that. It's a great format that you could have. And this is great. You whip this up so quick. It's got so much information on it. It's got some pages of art here. And
here's one thing I want to say about this particular thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I whipped it up quickly, but this is one thing I feel like, not just me making a book and talking about my book and, hey, everybody buy my book, but sharing information for other creators to take and use for themselves.
Exactly.
I used to be like a promotional manager and do sales for a band out of Houston, and we sold the CDs, professionally done and everything. But the thing is that I learned how to think so far out of the box with it, right? So in this instance, when I did this, what I was thinking was, I don't have my Indiegogo up yet. So why don't I use this, since it's there and it has all of these little whams and doodads on it? Why don't I use that as a way to almost make an Indiegogo page out of it, you know? And that way I give them all the information that I can, not too much, but just enough. And then also give them a little taste. Everybody wants a little taste. So that's why I got the artwork on there. And if you sign up, you're also going to be alerted when I do the 10-page prequel, and that's going to be a free digital copy.
Sweet.
And it's crazy because what I want to do is stretch goal it for the campaign, and so that we can get it actually printed in the book ahead of the story as a prequel would really fall in. So
that's awesome. Now Ibai's back. I still want to talk to you about how you got into comics and where you started.
Apologies in advance. Apologies in advance because you guys have witnessed my shitty Spanish internet connection firsthand. So.
No problem, brother.
So yeah, that's a really interesting question. Sorry, because I can't think of a time in my life in which I wasn't reading comics. I remember my parents used to give me like Tintin and Asterix comics. I don't know if they're really popular over there in the US, but Spielberg made a movie about Tintin, so they should be now. And well, my parents were actually raised in Belgium and Brussels. They fled there back during the Franco years. And I don't know if you guys know this, but the Belgians are actually really big into comics. Yeah, they have like this really big, beautiful museum of sequential art and everything. So that's where my parents developed a passion for graphic storytelling, and that's where they brought it to give it to me. And I can remember when I was around, I think probably 8 years old, my parents signed me up for a swimming course, and I hated it because here it's always cold in the morning,
Yeah.
and as a it was like at 8 a.m. and you had to stand there like half naked for like 2 hours and try not to drown and all that. It was really nightmarish for a little boy. And as a reward for being a good little Spartan and going through it, they would like give me a comic every now and then. And I remember the very first comic that caught my eye and my eye and got me really interested into the medium was one. I remember it was Spider-Man and Rocket Racer was in it. I think that's his
Oh, I
name.
love Rocket Racer.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
Rocket
Yeah.
Racer is great, man. I love that
Yeah, I
character.
love it. I love it.
You can get much cooler than a thief that has like a hoverboard and red and
Yeah,
yellow
yeah.
armor suit. And I remember the main antagonist was like a hidden like a sniper, and Spider-Man had to like bring Rocket Racer to justice while keeping him alive from
Yes.
the
Yeah.
trying to not, yeah, protect him
Yeah.
the hired killer and all that. I think it was the Kingpin who hired the guy to kill Rocket Racer because
Mhm.
he had stole something from him, something like that. And I think this is that was the moment when I became interested in hired killers, probably, and that's why I
Mm.
use them a lot in my stories.
Yeah.
I think that's something Alex and I have in common.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, I think that was the issue. That was the killer was something streak or something like that. I think, and he
I,
was like
I
really
remember he
fast.
had like, yeah, he had like this like almost Arab looking head thing, like a little cape around his head, like a turban, something like that.
Yeah.
And I think he was supposed to be like a legionnaire or something like a French legionnaire. I don't know. I
Oh,
don't
okay.
remember
Yeah,
the
yeah,
issue.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I just one of the ones that sticks out to me was he fought this guy who had super speed powers, and he Rocket Racer has the rockets on his gauntlets to make his punches faster or whatever, and so they were having this whole competition of who could punch harder faster, and that was such a cool story. I really like that one, but I can't remember what issue that was, but that's what it sounded kind of like to me as well. The competition.
Yeah,
There we go.
that's
Yes,
the
that's the one.
one,
Yeah, I do remember that
dude.
now.
Yeah, that's my childhood right there. That's the
Yeah.
guy.
Dude.
Yeah, I remember the black Spidey up in the low and upper
The
left
upper and
of
lower, yeah,
the
the
comic.
boxes, yeah.
That's so 1980s, man.
Dude,
Right in the feels.
interesting but sad short story. Neighbor across the street from me had been collecting comics since the 60s, I think, or the 50s at the time. And he had 8 of those big, huge moving cardboard boxes full of comics. And he told me, he said, if you take these all over to your house, he said, I had subscriptions that my mother had gotten me, but sometimes I couldn't wait, so I'd get it off the rack. So I have doubles in here. He said, if you go through and organize them all for me, and then you can have all the doubles. So he had stuff like first appearance of Punisher and like
Wow.
that stuff. Oh man, it was crazy. But once I got all of it, then my dad took them and gave them back to him. Told him I couldn't have them.
Wow. That
Yeah.
sucks.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Oh,
That's harsh.
Yeah.
yeah. And I don't know which is worse, that incident or when I was in college and my mom decided that because she knew I needed money, decided to sell like I think it was like 3 of my long boxes for $200, and I had like first run Spawn 1 through 15 or something like that, and a bunch of other stuff. Oh
Yikes.
my gosh.
That's something that I always make extremely clear with every woman in my life, including my mom. Do not get between a man and his comic books, especially the long boxes, because the harder trades that those are probably easier to find, but the long boxes, the floppies, dude, those are like, I don't know what the word is in English, but like these really old books that are like engraved in gold and shit and all that.
Yeah.
That's how really old floppies are for me. I mean, those are like, you have to keep them
Antiques,
in the
like
bag.
antiques.
Yeah.
Yeah,
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 the
yeah.
tomes. Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
So let's talk about Johnny's Law, guys. What is this story about?
Well, at its core, I mean, it's about a man who has a way that seems right to him. He feels he has a code: no women, no children. So he takes contracts, pretty much anybody, right? But the problem is that in his mind, he thinks he's morally superior to these other people, by having this code, right? And so that code is tested, in this book. And basically, if I were to just summarize it, it's an elite assassin who's manipulated into killing a kid and refuses. And then when he does, he's got to protect that kid. And this all ends up in a deadly Texas town.
That's cool. Yeah. I mean, the art just jumps like, it just screams Ibai,
Yes.
He's got that style now that you know it from looking at it. But this is actually going to be colored, correct?
Yes, it is.
And that's something that.
And how?
Yeah, he's liking the way I'm doing it. To be quite honest, I'm a first-time colorist, number one. Okay.
Oh, you're coloring it. Awesome.
Number two, all right. Even though I'm hearing people enjoying it, I'm being very critical of myself. So I have done the first page, and I think I'm on my fourth time doing it.
Yeah.
And the second page I started on, but then I was like, I don't want to, like I'm halfway through it, and I don't want to get it done until I make sure that the first page looks right. Because with his style, you have to be careful. You gotta let it breathe. Like in this picture, for example, the ninjas don't have any cast shadows, right? So that's something that I'm going to have to add in. But at the same time, you have to let it breathe. But then he has graphical qualities to his style. So you have to know where to add, certain things to kind of add a little spice to it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. No, that's really cool that you're, I'm lettering my books. So I'm going to be, and this is my first time kind of lettering stuff at a more advanced level than I've ever done.
Right.
And it's, it's a learning process. And I think for me as a writer, having another job on the book is good for me because, I feel even closer to the project and I can edit while I'm doing the other stuff, while I'm lettering. So I think that's great. And also, you build another skill for yourself that you could lend to other people that need help.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And it gives me an opportunity. Like when you work with an artist this closely, like you said, you start to, not only you get closer to your own project, but you start to, really understand the mind of the person who's drawing it, so Ibai has a language to his art. There's a language that if you've never been that close to it, you wouldn't totally understand it. So even though I do have drawing skill myself, and like I said, at the time I wasn't confident enough to do it on my own and had him, but I'll see things that might not be totally correct or whatever. And I might go in there and it's very little tiny minor stuff. And I might go in there and just redraw it, or a line that might be missing that's needed. And I'll go in there and put it in. And the good thing about it is that Ibai is not that type of person that's so, prideful or full of himself, not to listen to critique or to be afraid of someone, helping him. Because the only thing I want to do is make him better. You know what I mean? Like help him to be better as much as I possibly can, and not in a, prideful type of way, but just because I want to support him as an artist.
Right.
And so when you do a book, it's best to really try to stay in close contact with them. find out which way they prefer. Some people may not even think of this, but find out which way they prefer to be contacted. Is it through Facebook Messenger,
Oh,
Twitter,
sure, yeah.
Instagram, or in this case, it's better email for him. It works better for him,
Oh, yeah.
and then he's very quick to respond.
Because you never know for how long I'm going to be on Twitter.
Exactly.
Yeah, sure.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the number one criteria. There is this ticking time bomb that's just waiting to go off.
Yeah, maybe there's one too many nipples doxed.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
They boot you off of Twitter.
Exactly. So yeah, you just find that way, and then once you do, and I'm saying this because, like I said about setting up the page, things that people should think about, and that is how you communicate with them. Always have a really a good tone, be lively, encourage them, make them feel like that they're doing a great job, no matter what. And, just always express how you feel about the art. And then also never be afraid to speak up, and say, hey, could you change this?
Yeah, a long time ago when I was first starting to get into working with artists, I forget who told me this, but it was someone telling me this, and you learn it by yourself too. If you're a writer and you're working with an artist, the whole relationship is like a relationship with a chick. You have to court the artist and be like, hey, this is what I'm doing. You got to sell them on your book so they will want to do it. And then you need communication. You got to be talking to that artist, how they're feeling about it. You got to encourage them. You got to, you have to compliment them when you think they need complimenting.
Right.
So it keeps morale up and it keeps their motivation going. Right. So I would say the writers are the man in the relationship. So
also
that's why Zach been divorced 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing too, is that another thing to think about is that when you're considering an artist, hey, you might find somebody who's you know what I'm saying, a Mark Bagley. Okay. Mm-hmm. He might be super dope. Like you may love the way he draws, but is it right for the story?
Mm-hmm.
Is it the right style for this type of a story?
Speaking of Zach, that's what he said about me being on Ironsides, because I think he mentioned in the video that he could have given the job to, let's say, Jim, but he knows that Jim Lee isn't right for the project because this is supposed to be like a character story. The characters need to have expression. They need to act. And Jim Lee, even though I the crap out of him, pretty much all his faces look the same, and he's pretty like a grimacing guy. Everyone's like all the time.
Yeah,
it's not so much about being a good artist as it is about being the right artist for the project.
Right, exactly.
Definitely.
You got to have somebody that has exactly what you're looking for as far as like the feel of it, because this is what's going to be in people's hands if you get it funded. And you just got to marry the right story with the right artist.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, as far as a relationship, and Jim Lee's faces always look the same, and of course I have to kind of like work with Ibai to kind of make sure his faces look somewhat the same,
Yeah, and I think the great thing that I've always noticed about your art, Ibai, is that they're like, if this was a movie, like these actors are character actors. They express fully, what they're feeling just by the look on their face. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to get abductables, but just by looking at those pages, I didn't need even any dialogue because you could see what's going on with these characters.
I get it a lot, yeah.
Yeah, so expressive.
Well, let me tell you one thing. Go back up to the top, the top banner image.
Yeah.
The banner image was just Johnny like that, right? And he wasn't even twisted that way. He was twisted slightly differently. But what happened was when he sent this to me, right? And this is on the subject of his art and the way that he draws. If you notice, not only are the shells coming out of the gun, the brass is coming out, and then the slide is back on both pistols, right? So what he did was, not only did he give us the what should happen, what should be happening at that moment, but also sort of the motion of what would happen if it were moving. So by sliding those slides back instead of what most people do, which is just have them forward normally, it gives more of the your mind completes the rest of the image and gives it motion. And so then I put that and added all the extra stuff to it in the color, and then that gave it the rest of the life that would come from the final stuff. But with his style, okay, if you look at Iron Sights, you look at Abductables, even Necromancer, Tombstone Blues that he did, you look at SOS, it's Ibai in every single one. It's him, but the styles are slightly different. Like the way that he renders is slightly different from each one. Even when he uses zip tones or line tones or any of that.
Yeah.
It still has its own look to it that's different. And that's what I love about it. Because if you look at these pages and you look at the pages from the recent SOS stuff, it's not the same. Like there's a difference in what he did. And that's what I love about it.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see this stuff, more of this book in color, just because the header right here is sort of like you're saying, the motion, everything's flowing backwards from the slides. Even his cheeks are up, pushed back a little bit. It's really cool, grimacing. Love it. So about the book, how many pages is this book going to be?
Well, the script is for 50 pages. Then if we add the 10-page prequel, which is called Johnny's Law Ronin, which is going to have artwork by Cesar Feliciano from El Guapo Comics.
Yeah.
If you add that, that's 60. And then whatever Ibai's going to add as far as, I don't know if he's going to give us some process stuff or whatever he.
Absolutely. Apparently the sketchbooks are all the rage right now, and people love it for the Abductables. So I'm down.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's
so
awesome. Yeah.
That's what we're gonna try to pack it in as much as we can and give you all your money's worth, and especially if you get this 10-page prequel, which is that taste, just to get your tongue wet, and then add that into the book eventually through a stretch goal. I mean, man, I think people are really going to love that.
Yeah, this is really cool. Now, is this a character that you want to tell more stories with in the future?
Are you talking about Johnny?
Yeah.
His name is Johnny Lau, Lau. He's half black, half Asian, and there's definitely another book coming. I don't really want to say too much about it, but there is more. I just realized in the last couple months that there's more. I was only going to do a one shot, but there's more that I can say through Johnny's character that would be a natural conclusion for him. Because at some point he's got to question what he does. So that's about all I want to say about the next.
Cool. So we got shout out to the chat here. Thanks for watching, guys. Septonob7 of 9. Ibai is a great director. He gets a lot out of his actors and puts them on a great stage. Hail, brother. Yeah, that's awesome. He sure does. Sure does. Now, this is a little shot from Johnny's Law Ronin, and this is El Guapo's art, correct?
Yes. Yep.
That's really cool. Yeah, that's awesome. I love that subtitle, Ronin.
There's a reason why it's called Ronin. Sure. Yeah. So, as a matter of fact, it's pretty much in that picture right there. But I'm not gonna say exactly what it is. But it's a. If I wanted to describe the action, it's sort of a old boy, the original, not the remake. Sort of an old boy. As far as action, old boy and John Wick type of thing.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this action, like in Johnny's Law, it looks like it's gonna be filled with action, and this scene reminds me of like that apartment raid in John Wick. You know, the guy's coming in, he's got to defend himself, kick some ass. You know, this. I mean, who doesn't like ninjas? I mean, ninjas climbing up here. That's so
I gotta
cool.
say, this is the first time that I've ever been asked to draw ninjas, and it's an honor. I've always seen ninjas in comics, and I never got to draw them. So
dude,
finally drawing ninjas. This is
I
our first.
really dig the attention to detail here. You have their weapons on them. You know, this guy's got 2 knives. This guy's got a different, longer knife. Other tools of the trade there, and I really dig that that's a part of them, and we could see that.
Right. And I like it, you know, because if you look at the other page where they're actually in the apartment, bro, check out the vests, man. The vests with utility pouches on it. Like when I saw this page, I'm serious. Probably every page, I freak out because I was like, dude, that vest is so clean, man.
Yeah, great design, really cool.
God.
And
as I told Alex, it was all due to my love for G.I. Joe figurines.
Oh, sure, yeah, you totally see that.
Tactical ninjas are cool.
Yeah. Ninjas will never stop being cool.
Yeah. So, in Johnny's Law, do we get kind of a backstory of Johnny and how he's gotten into what he does, kind of like his martial arts background and stuff like that, or is this a straight set in ground running action?
Well, there is a little bit of it. There's a little flashback, you know, stuff here and there, and it definitely takes place. Let's say this: it takes place over. Let's see, 1, 2, 3 different times. 3 different times in his life.
Yeah.
Okay. So this time right here that you're seeing is not the present.
Oh, okay.
But it's also not the past. Like the flashback shows even further back.
Yeah.
And then after this, we're gonna move into the present day, right? And then Ronin is gonna go even further back. And it's going to be back to when he was in LA. He grew up in the gang culture in LA, and then his father suggested for him to go do something better with his life. So he joined the Marines, and of course, you know, this is comic book, so he was a prodigy. You know, came back home and just really couldn't get away from it. You know, and so Ronin is kind of that point of getting away from it. You know, so. Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah, I mean, this sounds like a really rich character you have here. I mean, you said this was an idea you've had, you know, from the 90s, right? For a film, a film script. Now, have you been writing this character for a long time? Like thinking about it? Like for me, the next IP that I'm putting out next year, they're characters that I've had with me, and I've been writing short stories for probably like, you know, close to 5 years now. And I think that is what makes them even richer. Like a lot of writers or artists that want to do comics, they'll come up with something and they'll put it out right away. And I think you need some time to sit on it so you can get to know the character a little bit.
What I try to draw from is, you know, like for this particular book, I've had this idea since '97. The way that the story turns out and the character was not fleshed out in that idea, really. You know, it was just he's an assassin and this is the situation. I did have like the full plot of what happens from beginning to end, but this one has been changed and altered because that one I felt like was too it was too cliche, you know what I mean? But now after life experience and all that and reading comics and just so many other movies and stuff, you know, I came up with that story and I didn't like ever write it down. I never wrote it down until I wrote the script, you know? And as a matter of fact, I want to give a shout out to Spike Valentine. That's the homie. He did the editing for the script too. So, and he really pushed me and asked me, and that's another thing, got to have a good editor that's willing to not care how you feel about, stuff like that, tells you, hey, I know that this is your thing, but you have to be ready to let go of anything you need to in order to make the story work. Right. So he pushed me, and that made me think about things I hadn't thought about before, mechanically in the story. And so I was able to put that together a lot better than I probably would have on my own, But as far as writing in general, I'm a very internalized person when it comes to that, So when I'm thinking of a story, I've always been the kid that was in class caught in, I'm in a catatonic state a lot of times because I'm sitting there imagining all the time, right?
Yeah.
Everything was too easy, so I'm already done. I already know the answers, or I can finish it quickly. So I'm on in a zone, and so that's the way I write as well. I really sit back. I put the lights. I get the camera ready. I film the whole thing in my mind. Then when I go to write it, I learned one thing: fail faster. Meaning, go ahead and write it out, and don't worry about whether you got it totally right. Just get it out, and then once you're bouncing off your editor, you'll fail at this, that, and the other thing, and then you can know where you need to start shoving the pieces around to get it to fit the way that it should. Yeah. And then just write it. Just write it. If you're out there and you hear this and you're thinking of a story, but then you're just like, got all these reasons why not, just write it, get it down, and then you can worry about figuring all out everything else. And that's how I write. Some people like to do, they like to do a spreadsheet, or they want to get in their notebook, write all these thoughts and like do all this. I just want to get it written down, and then I want to go back and forth with my editor, and let's find out what story am I trying to tell and how can I tell it.
Yeah, sure.
So.
No, that's awesome.
If I answered the question,
it's the same. It's the same as happens with art. Four eyes see better than two. So as an artist, you have to be prepared to hear people say, "Hey, I know you kind of dig how you drew this, but I think it would look better if you do it like this." Or if you screw something up or forget a detail. So I think it helps, as you guys have stated before, it helps having an open mind and a humble personality. And I think that's one of the tenets of Comicsgate. I mean, we're here to keep our readers pleased, and to do so, we have to be humble and be open to criticism.
Yes,
definitely. Yeah, that is for sure. This comic looks super cool. It's going to be a lot of action. I think it's a perfect time to bring something out like this. There's, you have action, like especially like John Wick, super big popular action movie, and this reminds me of that. Having this assassin, but a twist to the story, and I really like that because it's not pulling from one thing. It's something that you've come up with, and the colors. I think the colors look great in this one.
I mean, he loves it, and a lot of other people love it. But I think my problem is that I've been kind of springboarding it off of people who are working in the industry, as far as but they're not necessarily Comicsgate. Yeah. Right. But this, it's one of those things where you get on someone's YouTube channel, they have a Discord, and you can ask questions and all that. So that's basically what I've been doing. So when I hear the criticism of it, I'm kind of like, and I feel like I got to go back and do it over again, which I don't mind. Yeah. It's just, I want to know, how am I on the right track? How close am I? I don't want to hear, oh, there's 20 different ways you could do it. No, just tell me a way I could do it. Right. And then I'll go and do it. And then if you tell me, hey, no, just adjust this or that, I can do better that way. You know what I mean? Instead of just saying, well, like Ibai said, not, okay, it's good. It's fine, or whatever, instead of just speaking up. Sure.
No, I mean, this looks good. I like the emotion that it brings out to the story, and whatever you do settle on, I'm super excited to see it because you don't get to see a lot of Ibai stuff colored. So that's going to be really cool. So if you guys are watching, definitely there's going to be more people watching the replay when I put this up. Check the book out if you guys love gunplay and action. It looks like a lot of martial arts, kung fu stuff in here, and seems like a very sound story, very intriguing. Interested what is going to happen by the end of it. And the great thing about this is we already know that there's plans for more stuff with this character, with this property, and we're also getting some other, Johnny's Law of Ronin, that 10-page story that's going to push this even further. Talk about the backstory of this character. So that is badass. So you guys check it out. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to just pull up my campaign for a second, look at that, and then we could wrap this thing up.
Sure. And I also like to say that aside from the second volume of the story, Ibai and I are not, this is not going to be like a 1 or 2 shot type deal as far as us working together. There's another story that I pitched to him, basically about a father who becomes a technomancer, and he is put in a position where it's either do or die for his family, and his wife is dead, all that. And so we get to see some cyborgs and Alita battle angel type of stuff. And I told Ibai about it, and you know what his response was? He was like, he said, "Damn it, I wish you CG guys would quit writing all these good stories," So that's something that I knew that he was going to really like because of all that. And then he's got he can make this big chopper and everything. So I already know Ibai was down for that. And he's just like, yeah, let's do it.
That's awesome.
I have that problem with comics, that people keep pitching me great ideas for stories, and I have to bring out the worst in me and say, look, man, this looks great. This looks really great, but I really don't have time because I'm currently drawing 2 comics at the same time. I will probably be drawing another 2 comics at the same time next year. Jacob has already told me that he wants to make a Necromancer sequel, fully painted this time. Every page going to be like digitally painted, just like the cover. So I mean, if it was up to me, I would clone myself and make an army of me, to quote Bjork, and draw all those motherfuckers, because I love all those speeches. People keep telling me insane stories that I love.
That's great about CG, and it's awesome to see that the writers are having these great ideas and pitching it to all the artists. But that's the good thing, where it's like, someone is super busy. There's a bunch of other artists that are really hungry and motivated and really want to get their work out also, that some writers can go with. That's the great thing about that. But that sounds cool.
CG presents a situation that there hasn't been in comics ever, I believe. From my experience, and we need to capitalize on it and give these people what they want. They don't want this Charlie's Angels and all this other stuff that this crap stories. They want something that makes them say "ooh" and get excited and bang the table. And
I think we learn that people are hungry for original content and for smaller, more character, more emotion-oriented stories. Because so far every project in comics, even the Abductables, which I thought it was going to be like a really brain dead fun, and turns out it actually has a message, and it has a couple of really heartfelt moments. And I was like, dude, I was ready to draw a Lobo comic, and turns out this is actually pretty good. I mean,
and it's hilarious too. Gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I laughed out loud a couple of times while reading the script.
Yeah, I did too. I laughed when I was reading the book. I was like, "This is hilarious, dude." Where? And I'm thinking, Mike, you need to do the next one, man. Get the script ready for the next one, because
Mike's awesome. He's doing that grayscale, which looks pretty cool. My brother actually did the logo for Mike for that. So he designed that, which was awesome. It was awesome that he gave him that work. But that one looks really cool too. There's so much awesome stuff coming out. I can't wait for next year, because you guys are going to see a lot of stuff from us, which is going to be cool. So let's look at my campaign before we roll out. If you guys haven't seen it, it is called Magic Cop. It is a blend between 1980s Miami Vice and Halloween Town, following a new Magic Cop on the scene. His name is Iggy Cromwell, as he's investigating the murder of a mermaid prostitute with the help of his new Wolfman partner, who's on the verge of retirement, and a bunch of other, magical beings. This guy's name's O'Hara. He's a half leprechaun, half giant, who's kind of our general giant.
He's just average height, right?
Yeah. And then we got this sexy, flirty witch, Helly. And so it's a lot of cool magic action. And I really wanted to get into the crime aspect of Miami Vice. And, the drug of choice in the city is pixie dust. So a lot of cool magic-y, Halloween, spooky stuff going on. We just passed 100 backers, so that is awesome, and we're still going strong. We're in demand right now, so we'll be in demand until the book ships, and a lot of good progress being made. There's 88 pages, 4 chapters, and my brother just started doing the interiors of the 3rd chapter, so we're really excited about that. And everybody that backs gets a blockhead. So
that's awesome.
So definitely check the book out. Guys, thank you so much for coming on here. It was a blast. I'm glad we were able to look at Johnny's Law. Even though it's a ways out, and everybody remember the link for the mailing list is in the chat or in the description below. So check that out. And guys, where could everybody find you?
Go ahead, Ibai.
They can find me or something very similar to me on Twitter at DecimatorsArt. And I also have an Instagram, which I haven't updated in a long while because I'm a lazy bastard. Then again, I'm always busy drawing, so I have a good excuse.
Yeah, that's not lazy. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's not being lazy. I mean, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I'm still here. I'm still up with my Wacom pencil in my hand. I mean, what can I say?
Oh yeah, brother.
You can find me at Johnny with 2 N. No, I'm sorry, Johnny's Law with 2 W's, and of course, no apostrophe, and that's at Twitter. And then I'm on Facebook. You can just find me under Alex Garcia, and you'll see this picture of Johnny on there as my avatar. It's like an animated GIF thing.
Sweet, guys. Yeah, everybody watching, if you dig the action, you dig the assassin and gunplay comics, this one's going to be great. It looks like the story's awesome, and definitely check it out. Sign up for that the mailing list, because it's totally free. You don't have to do anything. It's just you type your email address in there, and then you're on that list, and you'll know exactly when they launch on Indiegogo. So it just gives everybody a head start, and you get the sneak peeks and stuff, and you look at these awesome pages on here, read the description. So check it out, everybody. Until next time, I've been Phil. Thanks for watching Zaid Comics. You should subscribe to the channel. We do these interviews weekly, and I just set up next week's interview for next Wednesday. We're actually going to have Billy Tucci on here talking about his She comic. So you guys are definitely gonna want to watch that one. Until next time, guys, I will see you later.
Peace.